Groupage cargo on its way from the sender to the recipients are transloaded many times in warehouses. They are transported by several modes of transport. Therefore, it is important to properly prepare each shipment. This video will show you how the goods prepared for transport should look like. The journey of a shipment begins at the consignor. Already at this stage, you should verify if it is properly secured and clearly and legibly addressed. It is advisable to use labels printed in the Raben system, or others using barcodes and complying with the GS1 standard. The transport label should be affixed on the shorter side of the pallet in its upper right corner. In Raben Group, groupage shipments are transported on the basis of an overnight line haul system, i.e. regular support, connections between depots and transshipment terminals. In a nutshell, it looks like this. A dispatch shipment is transported to the nearest groupage terminal, where after consolidating shipments from different consignors, it is loaded on the appropriate line haul. Then, at the destination depot, the shipment is unloaded at night, and after scheduling deliveries, it is loaded onto the delivery truck, which goes to the end customer. With so many loading and unloading operations, the correct way to prepare a shipment for transport is very important. We use a few examples to show you how to do it best. Goods on pallets should be placed so that nothing protrudes outside the outline of the pallet. Protruding elements, badly foiled or improperly positioned on a pallet, pose a risk to other shipments. The pallet with the goods on it should be wrapped in stretch foil so that its lower ends overlap with the pallet structure. The pallet should also be foiled from the top so that there is no access to the goods from either side. It is also advisable to use a tape, which will additionally secure the contents of the pallet. If the goods can move on the pallet, use appropriate side protection. When sticking bags on the pallet, use spacers that comply with pallet dimensions, and make sure that the bags do not protrude outside the pallet. A shipment in transit is subject to shocks which cause the improperly protected goods in bags, which originally do not protrude outside the outline of the pallet, after approximately 100 kilometers begin to shift and stick out. Therefore, it is a good idea to keep some distance from pallet edges and stack bags so that the height of the shipment, if possible, does not exceed 1 meter. If the goods should not be stacked, use appropriate markings in the form of a pyramid triangle. When transporting goods in buckets or cans, it is important to arrange the products in such a way that any protruding elements do not stick in the container next to it. It is necessary to use appropriate spacers and proper pallet foiling that ensures stability but does not cause crushing or opening lids. All this to minimize the risk of damage to unit packaging during transport. When picking pallets with mixed goods, the weight and shape of each package must be considered. It is important that the heavier goods are at the bottom and the lighter goods are on the top of the pallet. For non-homogeneous goods, it is important to foil the pallet correctly so as to avoid movement of the goods and their damage. Also, make sure that lower layers are always full so that there is no situation that another layer has been laid on a few of boxes with lots of empty space between them. In some cases, the goods are secured using mesh baskets, crates, or racks, for example, the transport of glass. When shipping several individual items, it is worth packing them in bulk packaging so as to not send individual transport units. Certain groups, like dangerous goods, sometimes also require additional carriers. For safety reasons, they should be placed on the pallet and transported in accordance with the manufacturer's instruction, using also additional ADR markings. So-called oversized shipments, For example, shipments exceeding the standard EUR pallet can make it difficult to transport groupage shipments. All the more reason to prepare them properly. Pallets with non-standard dimensions used to transport goods, which are delicate and sensitive to shocks and pressure, require additional protection and reinforcements to prevent damage during loading or unloading. Heavy items should be packed in cartons secured with straps, and very heavy items in properly reinforced crates. We are aware of the responsibility for the products entrusted to us. However, a lot depends on our customers, because as much as 90% of all damage can be avoided by properly preparing the goods for transport. When you remember this and follow recommendations presented in this video, you make it easier to transport your shipments. Let's take care of them together.